Glad you could join us. Now, plans by governments to introduce new taxes to fund major policy implementations is generating lots of tension from all sectors. Business owners, politicians and academia have been vehemently reacting to the move, expected to be announced in the presentation of the mid-year budget review this week. The Ghana Union of Traders Associations, GUTA, for instance, says they totally reject any attempt by government to increase value-added tax from 17.5% to 21% as being speculated. Reports suggest that other tax components, such as the communication service tax from 6% to 9%, a financial service tax, among others, are likely to be introduced. Dr. Joseph Obeng is the president of GUTA, and he joins us on phone with some responses to these proposed increases. Good afternoon, Dr. Obeng. So, would you say that you are vehemently opposed to these tax increases, these proposed tax increases, and why?
Yeah, please, next time you have to talk, I can't hear your
right,
voice,
we are asking you why you are opposed to the tax increases.
Yeah, why? Because cost of doing business is becoming increasingly difficult, and that if care is not taken, all our capital will get lost in the wake of steady depreciation, increment of introduction of different kind of systems at the port. We cannot contain this one again. What this one means is that if we are taking, because our VAT is non-refundable, our VAT is retained by government, and so if you pay the VAT at the port, you don't have access to it again. It means that we are paying double of duty now, because if this one goes to 21%, and then you are paying duty for 20%, because most of the items is 20%, it means that duty rate is now 45%. That's all that it means to the importing community. And then if you add up the other levies and taxes like AU, ECOWAS, SM, all those taxes put together is about 12%. It means that one will have to fund about 57% of its import capital to pay only for duty.
Right.
It's about the highest in the whole world. We can't afford it.
Now, Dr. Obeng,
we are not going to allow it.
Now, Dr. Obeng, your organization is, well, the spokesperson for most of these importers. It has been expressed that revenue leakages at our ports is part of what is leading us to a situation like this, where we are unable to generate enough revenue from the taxes that we have already.
Since long have they been saying this, and since when have they not been introducing new systems? The fact that they keep on changing new systems and it's not, to them, it's not working, means that probably we are doing the right thing after all. Because even this year, we've introduced about 3 new, the CET came, now they are bringing CTN, all in the way to fill these so-called holes. And so that's not the base.
Right.
And then the main cause, if even there is leakages, is that tax that is not affordable. It's not to be compliant. The compliance level is low for tax that is not affordable. So we said that make tax affordable so that the compliance will be high.
Right.
So turnover revenue will also be high.
Do you have any right?
The duty, the VAT component, and all cumulatively about 57% is about the highest. And it's if there's any push factor for people to do any underhand dealing, then this is the push factor. But then if taxes are made affordable for everybody to pay, then there wouldn't be any shortcuts and any dubious ways for people even.
So, Dr. Obeng, in the event that government goes ahead with these announced or hinted increases and new introductions without heeding your warning, what would GUTA do?
Yeah, because we believe in dialogue. We did so many stakeholders meeting with Ministry of Finance, and I must admit, they've been talking to us. Even if you recall, the minister came to our office with the two deputies.
Right.
And then some of these things came up, and then we told them point blank that now we are being choked because the people that are paying the tax are very small. We can say about negligible 15% are being targeted by the importers and all that. So they should just expand the tax net. We told them that they should find innovative ways, creative ways to expand the tax net.
Right.
Otherwise, if they think that they are choked, and the revenue is choked by what we are saying and by what they are also feeling, that we can't pay more, then they have to go back and look at expenditure. We have to look at expenditure. If you have a revenue that is so tight, revenue that cannot go up again, the only sensible thing for you to go into your expenditure and revise it.
Dr. Obeng, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Dr. Joseph Obeng heads the Ghana Union of Traders Associations, GUTA. Now, an economist and lecturer at the University of Ghana, Dr. Priscilla Chumesi Bafo, is blaming the free senior high school policy and the pressure it has put on government to raise more revenue to fund other sectors of the economy for some of these proposed increments. Now, she argues government could have done better in planning the program such that it would target the poor and thereby save itself all the associated funding stress.
Government was a bit overambitious with the free SHS program. Basically, government is overstretched. If you look at it after payment of wages and salary, we are basically financing ourselves to feed and clothe ourselves, basically, nothing in the area of investments. The bottom line is that, yes, the free SHS was a major campaign message which caught up with a lot of people, but a lot of people who are benefiting do not need it. They didn't need it and they don't need it. Why do you give free school fees? Why do you ask parents whose children went to Morning Star, what do we call it, all the top schools in Accra and elsewhere, parents who are paying hundreds and thousands of dollars for basic education, then all of a sudden their children get to the secondary school and it's like, oh, it's free for everybody. We still insist that they could have done proper targeting, make sure that children who are coming from public schools who did not pay school fees at the basic level continue with free SHS, but those who are coming from all the private schools and all could have continued to pay, and I don't think it would have been a challenge.
Now, Deputy Minister of Information Kojo Opon Nkrumah has, however, been explaining reasons for the intended new tax introductions and increases, insisting the Ghanaian is not paying enough taxes to facilitate the needed development.
It's not a reassessment per se, and I always want to caution that we don't create an impression that there's something wrong and we are trying to fix it. Right. It's a trajectory. So you take some of government's programs, and I won't go into any specifics because I don't want to take the wind out of the sail of the minister. You take some of government's programs that it has outlined. You notice that the sheer numbers or the size increases as the years go by. So year 1, year 2, your current revenue measures may be able to accommodate it, but as you are going on, as the numbers increase, you will need to find revenue measures that will accommodate them. That doesn't mean there's something wrong and you're trying to fix it. It's part of a trajectory that you are going. You do it here at Multimedia when you have to look out into the medium term and say by 2019, 2020, these are the new expenditure items or the expanded expenditure items that you need to spend money on. And it is in that line that we have to always be looking at raising more revenue to meet our needs. Look, we're in a country where tax to GDP ratio is about 16%. And tax to GDP ratio is a measure of how much of our GDP we are able to collect as taxes. Ideally, we should be doing a tax to GDP ratio of about 25%. That means that roughly about 10% of our GDP is not being taxed. Some of the data that we are seeing, if you take, for example, the Ghana Bar Association roll of registered lawyers, and you compare it to the number of lawyers who are known to the tax authorities who are paying their taxes, you will be shocked.
That not
people are earning
poor employment.
Poor employment, as
perhaps they are trained lawyers, but they don't get work to do?
Oh no, these are functioning lawyers. That's what I'm saying. If you go to the Ghana Bar Association roll of lawyers who are listed and are functioning, and you compare it to the tax base, you'll be shocked. I mean, my colleague Charles Edubuahin was just talking about what's happening in the Ashanti region, for example, where you're having about only 47,000 individual registered taxpayers, and if you compare that to the voter database, again, you'll be shocked.
Meanwhile, the minority in Parliament says the current economic crisis is as a result of wasteful expenditure. Addressing a press conference this morning, minority spokesperson on finance, Kazel Atufosun, told government to shelve any plans of introducing new taxes that will have a negative effect on the ordinary Guinean.
Populist approach to governance by the MPP has caught up with them. In the face of the realities of the poor results of their misguided policies, leading to the underperformance of revenue, the government has informed the IMF Board of Directors that the revenue they are considering the following tax measures that will be imposed shortly. Again, the government intends to extend the National Fiscal Stabilization Levy. The National Fiscal Stabilization Levy will be broadened. Ladies and gentlemen, you agree with me that the government decided to extend the National Fiscal Stabilization Levy that was supposed to have expired in the year 2017. They extended it for 2 more years, additional years, for 2018 and 2019. They intend to take it off in the year 2020 during the election year. Now they are going to expand it to cover all sectors of the economy. Double jeopardy. In spite of all these taxes, they have others they intend to do. The first one is sale of state assets and monetization of gold royalties. In the budget statement, they have earmarked and they've said that an amount of 1.7 billion will be achieved from divestiture, sale of state assets, and 1.4 billion from the monetization of royalties, in particular that of gold. Our public debt has ballooned to 154 billion cedis as at May 2018 from what they inherited, 122 billion. We, the minority.
Now, away from that, Asante Henio Tumfor Osetus II has called on governments to resource tertiary institutions in the country to enable them cope with the increasing number of students. Speaking at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Otumfor Osetutu II said current facilities at the various tertiary institutions are not enough to accommodate the increasing number of students.
In the next 2 years, the first batch of students under the free senior high school policy will come out, and this will double the number of students seeking enrollment into our tertiary institutions. This is a reality we cannot pretend to be unaware of. The potential increase in enrollment at the tertiary level will require a corresponding increase in resources, both financial and human, to be able to cope with the student numbers. The time to act is now. I therefore call on the Ministry of Education, the National Council for Tertiary Education, and the Vice Chancellor's Ghana to get it to the drawing board and start planning on how to effectively handle this imminent increase in demand for university education in the country. I wish that Vice Chancellors will take this call seriously, because if the problem is allowed to hatch, the chicken will be left at their doorsteps to nurse. My second issue is about funding of infrastructural works in the university. On May 20.
Now, Education Minister Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh has waded into the conversation by authorities of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology to convert the 2 male halls, that is Unity and University Hall, to mixed halls. Speaking at the 52nd congregation of the university, he says although he supports the idea, he believes it should start with Africa Hall.
Education, I received the protest note and my sympathy lied with my students. But my conscience told me, if there's any hall in this university that can be made a mixed hall, it's of course Unity Hall. We have 2 blocks that are well separated. And so I was telling some of my contemporaries I was telling my Conti fellows that my heart is with you, but I'm ruled by my mind. And we should think about it. Yes, of course. Mr. Vice Chancellor, I support you. But since the university has not been able to make Katanga since the university has not been able to enforce its own decision that was taken during the time I was a student here in making Katanga Independence Hall and Republic Hall mixed halls. I was a local NUST president when that happened. All those 4 halls were made mixed halls. We fought an Aluta here. We went on Aluta not to agree. Till some of my colleagues in Republic Hall and Independence came to me one evening and said, then I realized that human motivations, So they were interested in the ladies in Republic Hall and Independence Hall. So we kept quiet and it fizzled out. But the university could not and has not been able over 25 years to insist on this female's invasion of Katanga. Of course, Muntaka was in Unity Hall. And I was in Unity Hall. If Katanga doesn't take the women, we won't take the women. Life is simple. I didn't say we shouldn't take the women, we should take them. But first come, first serve, So Katanga, take the women, be bold, and realize that over 50% of this population, over 50% are women. So we cannot, if we want to create an equal level of playing field, we cannot insist on our traditional problems that Katanga or Unity, or for that matter, any hall in this university should be reserved for a particular sex. I don't believe Africa Hall, because Africa is not only made of women. Africa is not only made of women. Africa, there are men here, there are women here. So Africa Hall should take the lead as well. Of course. United we stand.
Education Minister Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh certainly expressing interesting opinions there. Now, you're still watching Joy News. Today I am Daniel Daze. Let's take a look at some of the stories that have gone by so far. Proposed tax increases causes a stir among taxpayers as Ghana Union of Traders Associations warns of fierce resistance if government goes ahead with intended plan. And educationist and Asantehene Otumfuo Setutu II is calling for more resources to accommodate increasing number of SHS graduates into tertiary institutions. Still to come, tons of cocoa produced lost to poor road networks in the Amenfi West municipality of the Western region. And on Joy News Agenda today, dysfunctional and unavailable traffic lights in parts of Ashama municipality causing fatal road crashes in the area. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Now, cocoa farmers in the Amenfi West municipality of the Western region continue to lose thousands of tons of cocoa to the terrible nature of roads in the area. Tons of cocoa produced in that area never make it out to the market, let alone the port, due to unmotorable roads in the area. Now, cocoa is a huge source of foreign exchange, and roads in many cocoa producing communities in the municipality are not accessible, making the farmers struggle before they convey their produce to the ports for exports. Nathalia Kwanta has just returned from the area, traveling on the deplorable roads, and reports.
This is not the first story to be told about the nature of cocoa roads in Ghana. It will definitely not be the last, because every year around this time, when the rain sets in, these roads to the farm gates become inaccessible, Cocoa is one of the main crops produced in this region, generating billions of dollars in revenue for government. However, this municipality has not had its fair share of development as expected by residents here.
With the issue of the road network, I think you are coming from Mumuni, and what you saw is just the tip of the iceberg. It is worse at the other side of the road. We plead with you not to let the fulfillment of the road be in vain. You are only meandering around a very long distance before you get here, and it's not easy. The bulk of the cocoa is at the other side, and like I've said earlier, you are the only people who can bring help to us, as we'll get to hear that people are dying and being buried. You see, it's quite pathetic that we here vote, yet we do not get any help from the government. The cocoa is for government, and I wonder why the government is not paying attention to this.
We are coming from the farm. My brother, we are far behind when you talk of roads around here. Government has refused to pay attention to our roads. Just look at this bridge. We are just fed up. At times, your motorbike gets stuck in the mud, and you have to leave it there. Meanwhile, there's a lot of cocoa at the other side of the river that needs to be sent to the depot. Our market center is Momoni, where you are coming from, but the road is blocked. We can't go to the market, and it is really having a bite on us.
The Western region contributes over 50% of the total cocoa produced in the country. The Wasa Amenfi West municipality is about 4 to 5 hours drive from the regional capital, Takoradi. This 15-kilometer road is critical for the carting of cocoa. The journey, which is supposed to last 30 minutes from Samraboy to Pristi and Kwanta, has taken 3 hours. Large cocoa farms interspersed with food crops spread on either side of the road. Farmers here are worried about the deplorable nature of the roads.
Still watching Joy News today. Now on Joy News agenda, defective and damaged traffic lights are said to be posing a threat to lives each day at Ashaiman near Tema. Many of the lights fixed following protests by residents for better roads remain dysfunctional. For Joy News agenda this week, focusing on damaged traffic control signals, we hear stories of how residents, including children, are risking their lives each day using the intersections.
Out of the many traffic lights installed by the Urban Roads and Highways Authority in the municipality, only one is currently functioning. It is a situation turning intersections into accident scenes on a daily basis.
When we count the number of accidents that has occurred here, it's uncountable. So many things has happened here concerning this traffic light issue. There was a time students, about 2 of them, they were just trying to cross the road, but the cars, the incoming cars, and then the ongoing ones just have to come and crash with the children. You see, so there was a lot of injuries.
At the Presby A Primary School, Official Town and Kaketo intersections, drivers and motor riders take their turns without hesitation, leaving other road users at risk. The most vulnerable are the pupils at the Presby Basic School who use the intersection on a daily basis. Residents tell Joy News a day hardly goes by without a head-on collision at this intersection. This resident narrates how a school pupil was thrown out of a window of a school bus during a collision at the intersection.
There was a day an urban carried some school children from Underbridge area. And when the urban got to this place, a vehicle was coming from the main road. They didn't know. So when they crashed here, one of the kids from the oven came out of the window and dropped on the road and was squatting. But when we rushed there, people didn't know that the child had come from the car. So it was those children who were rather in the oven were crying and shouting that one of them had gone out. That people realized that there was somebody squatting. The glasses cut the child everywhere, and they had to rush them to the polyclinic over there.
And there are many stories of how dysfunctional traffic lights at intersections are making life difficult on the roads here.
Traffic lights, no.
We are calling on authorities to fix the traffic lights for us. During the night, there's reckless driving which leads to accidents. If these traffic lights are fixed, it will regulate the speed at which drivers drive around here. Those of us hawking on the streets are mostly at risk. The traffic lights are not working. These dysfunctional traffic lights will always lead to deaths when they are not fixed. Some time ago, a cocoa seller nearly lost her life when a vehicle failed its brakes and nearly rammed into her. Officials at the Municipal Roads Department would not speak to us on camera except to say the contractor responsible for the traffic lights had said he had not received payments to lay the pipes for the lights to function. As these traffic lights remain in their current state, residents of Ashaiman, including the many school children, would have to continue to bear the brunt of reckless drivers. Delanyo Amegashi's report for Joy News.
Now, the death of renowned poet Professor Atukwe Okai remains a huge loss to the literary community in Ghana. As he has checked out of the world, his unparalleled legacy will be the many young poets he inspired with his work. Maxwell Agbagba was at the Jamestown Cafe to meet with some of them.
I'm currently here at the Jamestown Cafe, very close to the Asher Fort. In fact, when you come here, it's about arts and then culture. Everything that you see around me right now had some touch of arts and then the beautiful culture that we have as, you know, as a people. In fact, this artwork here shows, you know, some children playing at the beach, engaged in some form of acrobatics. In fact, when you come here to Jamestown and you stroll along the beach, you'd see a lot of children engaged in, you know, acrobatics like this one. But today, we are here to meet two young poets, Oswald Okaite and then Michael Somwa. The two of them were greatly and hugely inspired by Professor Atukwe Okai. We're here to find out from them how the late professor impacted their works here at the Jamestown Cafe.
Prof. Atukwe Okai, whom I would call my father, I happen to have worked with him through 2011. After completion of my national service, I got involved with him. I had submitted my book for him to proofread and also review the book. So upon submission of the book, he said, Michael, your poems are interesting. They have wild effects. Why don't you work with me so that I can mentor you in that regard? I opted for it. And since that day, I think my literary journey has never been the same. On one occasion, I was traveling to Canada, and when I was transiting through Frankfurt, there he was. He said, Michael, where to? I said, oh, I'm going to attend, I'm attending a World Poetry Festival in Canada. He said, you see, I am that I am. And just as I am in Nkrumah, Lumumba, Cabral, Sumanguru, Sundiata, Kunta Kinte. I am the liberator and unifier of your sovereignty. I am the Apam, the Asafufro, and music to your dancing feet. I am that I am, and just as I am the soil to the harvest of yam, that satisfies every hunger and the wealth to your barn. Hear the voice of the poet. The I am to your quarters, the Inobua to your well-being, and the broom to your feet. Just as I am, and as young as I am the train from Anzini, Maputo, Lebombo, Chukuchakayin, and horning across Soweto, Timbuktu, and lasing its metal along in Sawam, Donkukrum, and Jasikain. I am Africa, the I am that I am. I am the Dondo, and just as I am the Odono, the Tumpan and Seprewa, I am the traditions, the values and cultures of our land.
Another poet, Oswald Okaite, says he was once refused a visa when he decided to travel outside to take part in a poetry competition.
We heard the story of that poet in later bulletins, but may the soul of Afriyie Okai, Prof. Afriyie Okai, rest in perfect peace.